Tactical RPG genre has been slowly returning to old glory, and that is very good news. This year we have a long-awaited sequel to Wasteland 2 and a few gems you might have missed. In this video you will find the best tactical RPGs released in 2020. It's been a tough time for Desert Rangers. They lost their home at the end of Wasteland 2 in an effort to save numerous lives threatened by evil robots. When they thought things couldn't get any worse, they received call from their neighbors and their leader, who calls himself a patriarch. He offers help and much needed supplies if Rangers help him find his missing children who don't agree with their daddy and want to overthrow him. Main story is interesting and choices you make influence the gameplay. Side quests are varied and are not boring fetch quests found in some other games. I was impressed by a soundtrack too, and I mean not just that catchy gospel songs at the beginning. Combat is fun and I feel it is improved from the predecessor. If you played similar games, you already will be familiar with it. It's based on action points, which governs how far you can move, how much you can attack in a single turn, or which skills to use. If you catch the enemies with their pants down, you will get to attack first. Not everything is great. At the time I played the game there were numerous bugs and loading time were long even on brand new SSD. I'm not sure if these issues are fixed with newest patches. Othercide is a dark-toned tactical RPG set in a world full of demons. In Othercide, you control an army of warriors' daughters that you have to sacrifice for a higher goal, which in practice means healing other daughters. What makes this game stand out is the Lovecraft Eldritch style, which is so phenomenal that I stopped playing several times just to enjoy the design. The game has a noir and gothic feel and uses only three colors: black, white and red. In addition to the visual style, the game also stands out with the combat system that should enable endless combinations of skills. Failure in battles is not the end, as every time you die you go back in time and you can come back with lost skills. The Dungeon of Naheulbeuk, the Amulet of Chaos, is a tactical RPG that promises an epic adventure full of humor and chaos. It is a video game adaptation of comedy audio parody of role-playing and fantasy tropes. The Dungeon of Naheulbeuk doesn't take itself seriously. For example, while exploring the dungeon you will come across Goblin Skating Park and a lively tavern. Throughout the length of the game, every character breaks the fourth wall frequently while swearing and using sexual innuendos. If you played any of the recent incarnations of XCOM, then you will instantly be familiar with the basics of Naheulbeuk's combat system. There are some additions such as team attacks, and unlike in XCOM, if you miss with 99% hit chance, you will receive a powerful buff. Game soundtrack is great and is composed by the author of the audiobooks. In troubleshooter Abandoned Children, civilians are able to investigate and arrest criminals. The game follows adventures of one of these freelance mercenaries called troubleshooters. You will be able to meet other troubleshooters as you play through the story and recruit them. Combat is best described as a mix of XCOM and Final Fantasy Tactics. There's Divinity Original Sin style weather effects that impact the battlefield. You can feel the influence of other games, but it doesn't feel like rip-off. The game is rich in well-written story and at times it feels like you are reading a visual novel. If this is not your thing, then this might not be the game for you. Otherwise, I highly recommend it. Gears Tactics is spin-off set 12 years before the first Gears of War. What sets the game apart from the rest of the series is a focus on turn-based combat inspired by XCOM. Combat is more dynamic and allows player to use his 3 moves in whatever order he wants. The game is slightly faster than other similar games and appreciates and rewards the somewhat more aggressive approach characteristic of other Gear series titles. Namely, unlike the game XCOM Chimera Squad, which use initiative to determine the order of characters on the field, in Gears Tactics, each side controls all its characters at the same time each turn. Everything is accompanied by a story that is as good as one of the main sequels. Graphics is beautiful and not much worse than Gears 5, which is atypical for this genre. Gears Tactics is a very good game that combines the best elements of other games in Gears series in a rather tasty way while providing a very challenging experience. While Desperados 3 is not a tactical RPG, I feel this is kind of a game that fans of the genre will like, especially if you enjoy tactical or strategy-driven titles. So I decided to put it on the list as it's one of the best tactical games released in 2020. Fans have been waiting for a new game in this series since 2006, so when it was announced it brought a smile to a lot of people. Game is made by makers of excellent Shadow Tactics, and they didn't disappoint this time either. Desperados 3 tells the story of the origin of the main character, John Cooper. The central premise is in revenge, a bit cliché, but it has some twist of its own that you can appreciate. Personally, I wish the main villain in the game was shrouded in a bit of more mystery, much like El Diablo in the first part. But here we have a bitter Frank with a short fuse who is the same the whole game as when you first met him. Game is played from an isometric perspective, managing a handful of characters, each of whom has unique skills. In doing so, you will avoid or quietly eliminate numerous opponents, which as an unwritten rule will always be in the field of view of one or more of their colleagues, to make it more difficult for your plans to work. I have few honorable mentions. These games might not be the best, but if you are a fan of the genre, they are worth checking out. In Fae Tactics, follow a young magic user named Poeni on her journey across the vibrant world full of mystery and danger. Summon allies, cast spells, and befriend a motley crew of characters as you dive into the growing conflicts between man and magical beings, known as Fae. The Final Fantasy Tactics influence is strong in Fae Tactics. The game features a classic isometric turn-based combat and gorgeous pixel art. Necromunda and Underhive Wars is a tactical RPG turn-based strategy game from Rogue Factor, the makers of Moredhem, City of Damned. In it, you control various gangs as they stake their claims in deep bowels of massive city. Games is a part of Warhammer 40k universe, and there is also a spin-off tabletop offering. What is the best tactical RPG you played in 2020, and which are the ones you are looking forward to play in 2021? If you liked our video, share and subscribe. Until next time.